This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
This is A Different Perspective with Kevin Randle. A retired U.S. Lieutenant Colonel, Kevin Randle has been studying UFOs for nearly 50 years. Kevin has investigated some of the most famous UFO cases in the world and has been consulted for dozens of documentaries about UFOs. Considered one of the leading experts into the Roswell UFO crash of 1947, Kevin has written more than 25 books about UFOs, including the recently published Roswell in the 21st Century. Now, here is the host of A Different Perspective, Kevin Randle.
And as I promise every week, I am returning with another show. This is, in fact, A Different Perspective, and I am truly Kevin Randle. I am joined today again by Jan Harzan, who is the Executive Director of MUFON. He's been a member of that organization for a long time and has worked in administration at MUFON for many years. He's interested in UFOs, of course, and that's inspired by his own sighting, which we talked about the last time he was on the program. We're going to talk about MUFON and some of the things that are going on in that organization, some of the things that happened to it. But before we get to that, in the last few days, there has been a new document released about MJ-12. We haven't had an opportunity to talk about it yet. We're going to do that briefly today. And I thought I'd bring Jan Harzan on to get his take on it before I reveal mine. So, Jan, welcome to the program once again.
Thank you, Kevin. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
You're familiar with this latest document?
I've looked at it and I've read some of the things that are on the internet regarding it. I don't consider myself to be a document expert, but go ahead. Yes.
Well, I mean, my question was simply, and I realize it's your personal opinion. What was your take on this MJ-12 document?
Well, it looks like it needs a lot more vetting. I guess the first thing I'd say is, it appears that it was given from a privileged resource or source. You'd probably like to know who's providing this and what's their background. Is it being provided through military channels, through intelligence channels? Is it just someone who was given the document by a friend? I mean, I would like to know kind of the genesis of where it all came from. And I know that's sometimes difficult because sometimes when people want to leak stuff, they don't want their name known about it. But it just makes it harder to validate whether it's a true, real document or not.
But wouldn't we be looking at the text of the document, realizing we don't have the original, we have merely a Xerox copy or a copy made from a PDF file, but looking at the information in the document, the construction of the document, that sort of thing, doesn't that pretty well give us a clue as to the validity of this particular document?
I would think so. Again, I'm not a document expert, but I understand if there's some issues with the top secret markings on the document and where those are and how they're marked. Some of the references to other projects that don't appear to follow what's known about those projects and some of the classified stampings on the document. But I personally would leave that more to someone of a Stanton Friedman and or a Dr. Bob Wood who make it a living to look at documents and determine their veracity. So yes, I think that would help to determine whether or not it's a real or fake document, for sure.
Well, just so the listeners understand, this is an MJ-12 document. It allegedly is ultra top secret, which is the marking is wrong on there. It deals a bit with the Roswell UFO case, and then it morphs into the Aztec UFO crash case. And finally, there's an interview by a number of different interviewers with an extraterrestrial biological entity. And I think looking at this document from my perspective, that most of the information about Roswell is just flat wrong. And when we get into the stuff about Aztec, if we accept what Scott Ramsey has published in his book, then this document is flat wrong. And of course, the document is right, then Ramsey is wrong in his book. And I think all of that plays into it. So when we have a lack of provenance and we move into the problems with the document dealing with the Roswell case and the Aztec case, we can make a pretty good call that this thing is probably fraudulent, even without knowing the exact provenance, which is, by the way, a big red flag.
Yep. No, Kevin, I couldn't agree with you more. It's just, honestly, I don't consider myself to be a document expert, so I'm not going to weigh in on it one way or the other. But I think a lot of people are looking at this right now, and I think there'll be more information posted on the internet about it. If it is, in fact, a fraudulent document, it makes you wonder why people would go to such lengths to do this kind of a thing, and what's behind all of that.
Well, I understand, of course, that you haven't, I guess we could say, the expertise to make a call on the document. I understand that. It's not a big deal. I published a bunch of stuff about it on my blog at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com, which is just my way to plug the blog once again. And we're coming up on our first break here. When we come back with Jan Harzan, we're going to talk a little bit about the gorilla that's in the room, and then we'll morph into some other information about the MUFON organization and things like that. So we will be back right after this, so stick around.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember, 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
I am Dr. Carl O'Helvey, founder, president of a new cancer foundation focusing on evidence-based physical, mental, and spiritual interventions, including natural cancer cures, prayer, meditation, affirmations, nutrition, and other related holistic cancer prevention and cure modalities. These are used in cancer education, research, and financing care. I ask for your help to continue this important work by donating at www.holisticcancerfoundation.com.
Hello, I'm Pete Marsh. With my daughter Justina, we will be presenting the new radio show, Too Good to Be True. If something seems too good to be true, it usually is. But with the help of Justina's amazing gifts, we're going to gain insight into questions that don't yet have complete answers. Have you wondered who built Stonehenge and for what reason? Why are crop circles found in the same region as Stonehenge and elsewhere? Are crop circles a hoax, or are they created with technologies that we have little knowledge of? Who built the pyramids in Egypt and also in other countries? How and why were they built? Was the Titanic switched with the Britannic as part of a gigantic insurance fraud, or for more insidious reasons? What caused the Tunguska event when trees were flattened over an 800 square mile area in Siberia? Will the new insights be too good to be true? Well, that will depend on what you are prepared to believe. Please join us as we start on this journey together. For more information on Too Good to Be True, visit www.xzbn.net.
Little children aren't the only ones afraid of the dark. Millions of soldiers return from war zones with PTSD, anger, frustration, fear, and loneliness, much of which surfaces during the darkness of the night. You have the chance to change the lives of these American heroes. Songs and Stories for Soldiers.us provides free MP3 players for these men and women. With a list of 3 million songs in 16 different styles, 100,000 audiobooks, and 30,000 old-time radio programs, every veteran can find something to soothe and comfort them at no cost. All our players contain an 8-hour audio program designed to help veterans fall asleep. With 1,500 plus vets now participating, it's our goal to deliver 10,000 audio players this year. Go to our website at songsandstoriesforsoldiers.us. Help us help a veteran make it through the night.
And as promised, we are back. I am joined by Jan Harzan, who is Executive Director of MUFON, and we were talking about the 800-pound gorilla in the room. Several weeks ago, John Ventry, who was the state directors for Pennsylvania and Delaware, had both posts, had made a pretty racist rant on his Facebook page, and there was some reaction to it. And I know that MUFON reacted to it. Jan, can you walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, it was an unfortunate situation where late at night, John had read a fake news item somewhere on the internet about a television show on Netflix, which was about white genocide, and he reacted to that, put an unkind post up, which she pretty much immediately took down. But unfortunately, someone had Snapchatted it and started passing it around the internet. But I think it points up some things here, and it the lessons we've all learned in our lives. The first is that if you have nothing good to say, don't say it. The other is I have an acronym called THINK, which is before you speak, think. The T is for ask yourself, is it true? And in this case, it probably wasn't true. It wasn't true. It was a fake news item. H, is it helpful? If not, why are you talking about it? I, is it inspiring? N, is it necessary? And K, is it kind? And I find that Facebook and a lot of these social media blogs turn into real rubbish pits very, very quickly, where people want to throw jabs at each other and take each other down. I'm not sure what that is about our society that does it, but it does bring up another thought that I had, which is, you should think once before you act, twice before you speak, and 3 times before posting on social media. I think if we all followed those rules, we'd be in a lot better place.
So you removed him from his position as state director of Pennsylvania and Delaware.
Correct.
And he is still a member of MUFON, though.
Well, anyone can be a member of MUFON. You just join MUFON and you pay
I'm not criticizing that. I'm just making sure we understand the situation, that he's still a member of MUFON. What I think Jim Mosley once called a journal subscriber. He had been a state section director and I guess got demoted to journal subscriber because he wasn't recruiting enough people or something. So I understand that. And but he's a member of the inner circle of MUFON. Is that correct?
Well, when you say inner circle, you're talking about donation levels. And yes, he's donated money in the past that puts him at a certain level. So it'd be like for the symphony orchestra, you're in the whatever club because you've donated so much to the organization. So that's not something you can take away from someone. I mean, they basically have earned it based on their donations.
But doesn't the website suggest that the members of the inner circle influence the direction of MUFON?
Well, no, not really. I think if you look at it, it's very clear on there that it's based on donation level.
I understand. What you're saying is the criterion for membership in the inner circle is basically cash.
Well, it's donations. We're a nonprofit 501c3, and so we don't get any funding from anywhere else but from the public. So it's through memberships, it's through donations, it's through merchandise sales, and through the symposium. That's the only places we have the ability to raise money to continue the great work that we do. Understood.
And I have no problem with that. I'm just saying that according to the website, that the Inner Circle participates in some of the activities of the board of directors. It influences where things are going. You yourself are a member of the Inner Circle.
Yep.
Isn't that correct? That's
true. I've donated a lot of money over the years. Yeah, I paid for the honor of working here. Yes. Yeah.
Well, there you go. So John Ventry is still a member of the Inner Circle.
Well, it's not something you go into or out of. It's basically the way it says is welcome to the Inner Circle. Folks mentioned on this page have shown unparalleled generosity towards MUFON by donating in excess of $5,000 in a single donation. That's what it is. That's strictly it. That's what's on the website.
I understand, and I've read that over, and I've seen what the benefits are of being a member of the Inner Circle. That they get phone calls from the executive director. They get cases sent to them that aren't published elsewhere, and all kinds of benefits like that. So I was just wondering that because he's made the cash donation, he has no other expertise. There's no other criterion to join the Inner Circle. Is that's what you're telling me? Just send the money.
Well, basically it's a donation level. Exactly. We have a benefactor level too at $1,500, and we have lower levels too at $500 and $250. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, people have different means to support, and we appreciate anybody's support, even if it's $25. I mean, that's what it requires to run an organization of this size and magnitude.
Is Jay-Z Knight a member of the Inner Circle?
Yes, she is.
And she's the one who channels the 35,000-year-old or 34,000-year-old Lemurian warrior.
She may do that. We don't not turn it. If people want to donate money, we let them donate money.
And she has also made a number of racist rants. Are you aware of that?
I should remove her from being state director, but she isn't. Yes.
Well, I'm just saying, her Lemurian warrior supported Donald Trump, which is neither a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, politics should be removed from that. But she, in a drunken rant, apparently said, "Fuck God's chosen people," meaning the Jews. "I think they've earned enough cash to have paid their way out of the goddamn gas chambers by now." And then she, or rather her 35,000-year-old Lemurian warrior, said that the Mexicans breed like rabbits. All gay men were once Catholic priests. And in a strange comment, said organic farmers have questionable hygiene. So she's a member of the Inner Circle because she donated $5,000, right?
Well, Kevin, look, I mean, you're talking about freedom of speech here. People, we don't, as an organization, go out and study everybody's websites and everybody's Facebook pages. That's not anything we're here. We're here to study UFOs, and we're here to find out what they're about and where they're from and why they're here. That's what we do as an organization. If people want to send us money, we accept their gifts. Obviously, if we knew it was illegal money, we wouldn't take it. But as far as individuals and or organizations wanting to support MUFON, we welcome any kind of cash donation.
Well, in a similar vein, she had given a number of Democratic candidates some $70,000, and they returned the money. Wanted nothing to do with her because of that. And I'm just wondering, now we've got two people on the Inner Circle who have expressed some very racist opinions that I think do not really fit in with the majority of the American public. And I just wondered why these people remain in the Inner Circle. Yeah, they've given you a lot of cash, but you can get rid of them by giving them their money back if you wanted to. And these are people who exert a certain amount of influence over the MUFON organization, and I'm not sure how that advances the scientific nature of the organization.
Well, I think what you're mistaking is you're thinking that because they've paid this cash that they are actually controlling MUFON. Nothing could be further from the truth. Anybody can write to me and or talk to the board and say, hey, I think you should do this, do that. I've never received an email from Jay-Z Knight. I probably wouldn't even know. I wouldn't know her if I met her on the street. So these are people who have donated money, and because of that, they're part of the inner circle. It's just more like a donor board you'd find at a museum or at an opera house, or to support the organization. That's all it is.
What about our good friend John Grace?
And what about him?
You familiar with him?
I do know John, yes.
And he masqueraded, I guess, as Val Valerian. And is
I don't think that's the same guy, honestly.
You don't think it's the same guy?
No.
That's why I asked, to make sure.
I'm pretty darn sure it's not the same guy. Not the John Grace I know.
Okay. Well, the John Grace that we found on the internet, of course, is also produced the Krill report, which dealt with, I think, MJ-12 and some of the documents like that.
Yeah, it's not the same individual.
Okay. That's why I asked, because I wasn't sure about that, and I wanted to make sure we had the right people here. How about David McDonald?
Well, David used to be the executive director before I took over.
Yes. And you're familiar with his Mile High Club?
Yes, I am.
Okay. I don't think that's really egregious, by the way. I think it's really kind of silly, but I know that a number of members of MUFON were kind of upset about that.
Yeah, it's more of a marketing ploy in some sense. I mean, because what Dave does, he runs one of the world's largest FAA training schools for the government. So, if it was such a problem, I'm sure the FAA would not have authorized him to do that.
I'm just wondering, though, that when we look at the mission of MUFON, and we understand we're dealing with a fringe phenomenon here. A lot of people look down their noses at anybody who deals with UFOs. And I'm just wondering if this sort of thing is helpful in furthering the goals of the organization, a scientific organization.
What things in particular, specifically?
Well, I mean, the Mile High Club, you've got, he's also on the board of directors, by the way, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
So he would have influence on the day-to-day, well, not the day-to-day operation, but the operations of MUFON and the things that you look at and the places you want to go, scientifically speaking.
Yeah, David's been active in MUFON for over 10 years now. He's done quite a bit with the board and in different positions. Right now, he's working full-time and running 3 different businesses, but certainly does have input. But most everything gets run from MUFON by the executive director and the very small staff we have here at MUFON headquarters. Everything else is basically membership and people volunteering their time. I mean, we're blessed to have 4,000 members, and at least 500 of those are in positions of helping on a volunteer basis in our Field Investigator Network as state directors, national directors, chief investigators, and state section directors. So we're just blessed to be able to do that with all we do with basically almost 100% volunteer.
And I appreciate all of that. But, and I understand the inner circle is based on you're making a donation to MUFON, and I guess it's $5,000 a year to be on the inner circle. But the thing that worries me about this is, according to what we see on the website, is that inner circle does influence certain members of it, that they have contact with the highest levels of MUFON, and I would think that would be something that might be a bit problematic given the backgrounds of some of these people, especially when you want to be a scientific organization.
Yeah, but what you need to understand, Kevin, is most of these people don't attend our event. I mean, they don't all attend the events. They don't always take advantage of the opportunity. To be honest with you, anyone could pick up the phone and call MUFON and speak with myself. So it's not like you need to pay $5,000 to be able to talk to MUFON. I always encourage people to become members, though, because for $4.99 a month, I mean, you can help support the work we do. It costs money to have the computer systems we have, to maintain those, to have an office full-time, to have people on the phones working with people all over the world who are encountering this phenomenon and having issues with that one way or another. We support probably 10 experiencers a day through our experiencer research team who are interacting with the phenomenon and trying to deal with that and integrate it to life.
Let me interrupt you right here because I'm running up against the break again. So we're going to have to take a quick break here. We'll be back with Jan Harzan talking about MUFON and the direction of MUFON. Type MUFON.com into your search engine and you'll be able to find their website and talk to them about that. For more information about some of the things we're talking about here today, check at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com, and we will be back right after this, so please stick around.
Dreams are our personal gateways into infinite wisdom. Don't miss shamanic counselor and indigenously trained dream decoder Sandra Corcoran's inspiring book, Shamanic Awakening Between the Dark and the Daylight. This remarkable work chronicles Sandra's 35 years of experience with diverse wisdom keepers and her initiations throughout the Americas and across the British Isles, Turkey, Greece, and Egypt. Sandy's knowledge of symbology, psychology, and myth influenced her dream blog and workshops. Sandy offers private tarot readings, international journeys, a meditative CD, as well as her book, Shamanic Awakening, to encourage you as you navigate this earth walk, creating a deeper connection to yourself and all that is. Find this and more at Sandy's website, starwalkervisions.com.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
How would you like to be able to read other people's minds? Well, the next best thing is here. When you know how to read a person's name, you know how the person thinks, feels, and behaves. Each letter in our name holds a key to unlock our true essence. Our name contains both our gifts and challenges in this lifetime. Mnemology science discovers personality secrets hidden in the placement of the letters of our names, including the first and last impression people remember about us. Sharon shows us how to interpret the arrangement of letters as outlined in her book, Know the Name, Know the Person. Sharon Lynn Wyeth created mnemology science after 18 years of research and testing her theories, and has supported thousands of people around the world in understanding themselves and others better. You'll enjoy Sharon's unique teachings as she shares her system to learn the gifts behind your given birth name. Even if you don't like your birth name, there are jewels in this book. If you're thinking of changing your name, ready to name your child, or wanting to get along better with others, this is the book for you. If you'd like to improve your relationships and change your life for the better, get the book today, Know the Name, Know the Person, or visit www.knowthename.com. That's www.knowthename.com.
Hello, I'm Justina Marsh, and with my dad Pete, we are going to present a new show called Too Good to Be True. Together, we are aiming to discover more truths about this world and beyond. Do you have unanswered questions about the world? Do you ever wonder about aliens, conspiracy theories, or the universe? There are many shows discussing subjects such as pyramids or UFOs, but we want to relay this information based on our own research, including from spiritual means. Hopefully, listeners will be helped with their own beliefs and will appreciate the psychic insights that add to the previous research and information. We both look forward to sharing this insight and beginning this journey with our listeners. Visit xzbn.net for more information about when to listen.
If you stuck around like I suggested you should, then we are back, and you know that. I'm joined by Jan Harzan, who is the Executive Director of MUFON. We were talking about the inner circle of MUFON, which is I guess, more of a donation-driven thing than people being invited into the inner circle because of their expertise on UFOs. And I noticed some of the people on the inner circle, and I'm thinking of John Schuessler, for example, is a very credible source. Rob Zwiatek, very credible source. Teresa Lynn Linge, Teresa Terry Linge. These are some very, very credible people. So it's not a bad thing being on the board of directors of MUFON. So, we look at all of that sort of thing and try to figure out what's going on. I think it really comes down to a question of how much influence would the inner circle have on the operation of MUFON and the selection, for example, of the speakers at the MUFON Symposium, which I guess is coming up in July?
That's correct. July 21st through the 23rd at the JW Marriott in Las Vegas, Nevada.
And this year's theme is?
The case for a secret space program. So we're looking, when we look at our cases throughout a year, we generally, after investigation, have about 30% of them that fall into the unknown category. So the question you have to ask yourself, well, are those truly unknowns, or is it possible they're misidentified aircraft and or spacecraft that belong to either ourselves or some other country? So we're looking at that whole thing and some of the evidence out there that might say that we do have a secret space program going on. If so, how extensive is it? And we've got the full spectrum of speakers, everything from the hard scientists who are going to be looking at this, as well as some tough researchers, as well as some far out people who are claiming it's quite extensive. So we're going to put all the evidence out there, challenge people to question it, ask questions about it, talk to the people, and make up their own minds for whether or not there really is a secret space program or multiple space programs going on right now on our planet.
Well, some of the speakers you said yourself are kind of far out. And what sort of evidence do they present to make their case? I mean, is it good, solid evidence, or is it more of the kind of esoteric, vague stuff that we get periodically? And I'm thinking of this latest MJ-12 document, which is, I think, fairly obviously a fake. I think that I know Stan, when he first looked at it, was kind of excited about it, but he tended to walk back from that point a couple of days later, suggesting that we spend more time trying to vet the document. So I'm just wondering, do we have any really good, solid evidence for some of the far out points, or are we still talking about kind of some of the vagueness that we get?
Well, we're going to start on Friday night with John Brandenburg, who's a plasma physicist and has been a contractor for NASA for a number of years. And I had an opportunity to meet John at a Estes Park Advanced Propulsion Workshop put on by the Space Studies Institute, Gary Hudson and James Woodward, just a few months back. And he's going to talk about some of the information he's been given on the inside within NASA based on some of the contracts he's worked on. So we're going to get a glimpse there from a scientist's viewpoint of life, and then follow that up Saturday morning with James Woodward, who's been pushing this whole advanced propulsion concept, which you can actually read more about on the SSI website at ssi.org under advanced propulsion. And there were about 30 scientists who met in Estes Park, Colorado back in October and presented papers to each other. We're looking at the general theory of relativity and Maxwell's equations and trying to figure out how they tie into gravitation so that we might be able to build interstellar craft to the stars. And I have to tell you, I'm excited about these guys because they're doing this with zero funding in most cases, or very little funding, where most of the dollars are being poured into the black hole, as we know. I'm sure a lot.
Jan, I have to order you. Get back to your microphone. You're fading in and out on me again.
Okay. All right. Am I good now? Okay.
Yes, you're good now. Thank you.
Okay. All right, and then we're going to follow that up right after that with Michael Schratt and Mark McCandlish and Dr. Bob Wood, who are going to talk about current cases, current things, and how do they keep all this secret, but also some inside information that has been gleaned through the aerospace industry through the years. And then on late Saturday, we'll bring on William Tompkins, who is, I think, 94 years old now and has worked for the U.S. Navy. He worked for Rand Corporation back in the 40s. wrote a book called Selected by Extraterrestrials, where he has detailed his last 50, 60 years working in these different projects. And then on Sunday morning, we're going to get into Michael Salla and his book on the whole secret space program, and Corey Goode and some of these folks. So I think if people are having challenges, it's probably with the Corey Goodes of the world and perhaps Andrew Pishago, because they're saying things that are hard to basically find the evidence for, but that doesn't mean evidence doesn't exist. For instance, in Corey's case, he speaks about having gone forward in time 20 years and then regressed backwards. As we've done some research in this, and specifically Dr. Bob Wood has been doing quite a bit of research into this, there are a number of military projects that we're looking at.
Jan,
yes.
talk to your microphone. Talk to your microphone, please.
Okay. No, I'm speaking right directly into it, but
okay.
I wonder if it's bouncing off. Let me do one thing here. 1 second. Let's adjust something.
Well, while you're adjusting something, and I hope you can hear me, you're talking about a fellow who claims that he traveled forward in time 20 years. What sort of evidence does he present to prove that he'd actually done that?
Well, I think we're looking forward to that evidence being presented at the symposium. I mean, that's what he's there for.
Well, I know that in the past, and I hesitate to bring up Hangar 1 again, but one of the episodes dealt with a guy who claimed that he had been abducted when he was a teenager, spent 20 years fighting aliens on other planets, I think specifically Mars, and then he was returned to his bed 15 minutes after he'd supposedly been abducted. So everything was normal. And here was a whole episode built around this guy, and it just seems highly incredible. And I wondered why MUFON would be involved in something like that. And it sounds like we're moving back into that arena where we've got another guy who claims that he's traveled in time. And if he's done that, why doesn't he know the score of the Super Bowl and make himself extremely rich?
And letting you and I know about it, right? That'd be a good thing to do. Well, here's why. Because on the secret space program, if you read the books that are out there today, and there's a number of them, these are some of the folks who are mentioned in those books. So we're looking at the scientists, like I said. We're looking at the hardcore researchers, as I said, and we're looking at the people who are on the far edges of this phenomenon. So we're trying to put the whole thing in one place where people can come to one conference and hear everything, and then make up their own mind. So, but doesn't
that really harm MUFON by putting credible, qualified people on the stage next to people who, I mean, from some points of view, might be a little bit off center? Wouldn't it detract from the overall credibility of MUFON?
I don't think so. I think what it does is it lets people make up their own minds, to listen to the information. And I think Aristotle himself said, the sign of an intelligent mind is being able to listen to something without accepting it as being true necessarily. So you have to be willing to listen and ask the tough questions. And that's really what we're doing. We're putting a forum on here for people to share all the information that's out there about this secret space program, which right now is quite a big topic among a lot of people, not just in the UFO community, but people who want to know what's happening.
Was the whole board of directors of MUFON on board with this roster of speakers?
No, the board doesn't get involved in setting up the symposium. That's not what their job is. Their job is to oversee the nonprofit and to basically review.
No, my question was the board of directors happy about the selection of the speakers for the symposium? I mean, they could have their personal opinions.
Yeah, I don't think you could say they're happy or unhappy. They are aware of who the speakers are. I mean, a lot of them would like to hear some of these people, to hear what they have to say. I mean, if you shut people down without listening to them, I think that's even worse than the other side of the equation. So you have to be willing to open your mind up and listen to it and weigh it based on what other information you have and what you know, and then make up your own mind. We're not telling people what to think. We're not telling people how to think. We're just saying, here's the information. Use it as you will. But we're also hoping that this will spark deep research into some of these areas. There's a lot of stuff, for instance, Michael Schratt's going to be sharing the structure of some of these craft that are being seen in our database that he believes are built by our military, our intelligence community, based on the structures we're seeing on the outside of these crafts versus perhaps what could be considered extraterrestrial craft, which tend to be very, very smooth and seamless construction. I think that's an interesting subject and an area to follow through on.
And I would agree. I think that sounds like a fine subject. But we're also moving into an area where there's fringe people talking about it, and I'm very bothered by this guy who says that he's moved forward and backward in time. And I know that there's such a thing as having your mind so open your brains fall out. And I don't know what kind of evidence you could present to prove that you traveled into the future other than providing an accurate prediction of where the future is going to go. And I don't see any of that ever happening when people who claim to have been to the future. So I just wonder why you would want to give someone with that kind of a claim a forum, even though there might be people who are interested in that.
Well, actually, there's going to be quite a bit much more revealed, and I don't want to go and spoil his presentation, but there's quite a lot of other evidence that's going to be presented at the symposium. So if you really want to know Kevin, I'd get a ticket, and I'd get over to the symposium, and I'd listen to his talk and see what he has to say.
So you're comfortable with the fringe elements on the platform with the other people?
I'm comfortable with letting people share what they believe to be true, and letting the intelligent audience that we attract make up their own minds on what's real, what's not real. I'm not trying to tell people how to think or what to think. I'm really trying to put the whole story together. And that's how this whole symposium was packaged. It was packaged to say, okay, what is the case for a secret space program? Does it exist? Does it not exist? If it does exist, to what extent does it exist? Is it just something near Earth orbit, or is it something intergalactic? There's a lot of questions here that I think are fascinating, and people are going to be delving deep into for many, many years to come.
Are you suggesting, by what you've just said there, that speakers on your symposium are going to suggest that we have engaged in interstellar flight? Meaning we have gone somewhere.
Yeah, it's very possible. I mean, honestly, I can tell you that the scientists that we've put on the subject area, they're working to make that a reality. And they believe that they can have some breakthroughs here in the next 10 to 20 years that'll actually have us going interstellar as a civilization. And I'm rooting for these guys, because honestly, the faster we get out there, the faster we're going to find out what the truth is behind UFOs, in my opinion.
Oh, I'm all for interstellar flight. I'm a big proponent of it. I just understand some of the problems with interstellar flight and the vast distances between the stars as we move into space. We're going to have to take another quick break here. I'm with Jan Harzan, who is the Executive Director of MUFON, and you can email him if you so desire at the EX. Go ahead, you say it.
Yeah, it's EXE for executive.dir for director at MUFON.com. EXE.dir at MUFON.com.
And take a look at the MUFON website. Just type MUFON into your search engine, and it'll come up like in 7 billion different places. So you easily can get to their website. And I have a lot of stuff about the UFOs and things we're talking about today, like the new MJ12 document at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. So we'll return after this short break with more about the MUFON Symposium and where things are going. So stick around.
Are you curious? Do you want to learn more about how the world works and have fun at the same time? Study coincidences with me, Dr. Bernie Beitman, MD, on my Connecting with Coincidence radio show here on the XZBN network. Listen to Jungians theorize, statisticians randomize, true believers evangelize, while I categorize. I dance to the rhythm of coincidences. People who experience me see more of them. Maybe something on the show matches a thought in your mind. Let us know. Expand your mind to the weirdness happening around you. Synchronicity spoken here, there, and everywhere. For more information, put Connecting with Coincidence in your search engine and find my website, my social media sites, and my blog.
This is the X-Zone Broadcast Network, broadcasting worldwide on broadcast affiliates and satellite program providers, including CNN Broadcast Network, Sirius Satellite Network, Star Media, Good News Radio Network, Angel Broadcast Network, Wiki Broadcast Network, and WPBN TV. For more information on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, visit us at www.xzbn.net.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi, you can still listen to the X-Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell, The Science of Magic with Gwilda Wiyaka, X-1, Dimension X, Space Patrol, and every minute of the X-Zone Broadcast Network by calling 213-401-0080, courtesy of Audio Now. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan, and it's free if you have unlimited minutes. Call 213-401-0080 to listen on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Remember 213-401-0080 for the best of the paranormal, parapsychology, and sci-fi radio programming anywhere, 24/7, 365.
True healing must address 4 levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual, for us to live joyful and productive lives. We tend to treat 3 of the 4, leaving the spiritual languishing. If you're tired of the same dysfunctional patterns cropping up in your life, Soul Balancing is for you. Trixie Phelps, owner and founder of Soul Balancing, is a naturally gifted energy healer trained in numerous esoteric forms, including shamanism. Trixie has created a powerful modality that safely and effectively clears your energetic field. A Soul Balancing session can remove interference, heal trauma, and restore your hope. Contact Trixie for a life-changing long-distance session today, www.soulbalancing.world. There's a legend shared by many indigenous cultures of a time when the nations were cast to the 4 corners of the world. Each nation was given a body of sacred knowledge that held a different portion of the truth to preserve. True reality could not be known until all the nations reunited, combining the information. If a single one was missing, the world could not be reborn and darkness would prevail. The Science of Magic Radio is dedicated to reuniting the sacred knowledge. With the understanding, none of us has all the answers, but together we can open new perceptions and possibilities. Through our combined vision, the world can be reborn into a place where darkness no longer prevails. Join me, Gwilda Wiyaka, and the Science of Magic daily on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, xzbn.net, or visit us at thescienceofmagic.net.
And as promised at the end of the last segment, we are back, and you people just have no idea what a task it was to make sure we were back. We had a few technical glitches here that were sort of exciting, I suppose. When we left, we had been talking about the MUFON Symposium, at the number of speakers who would be there, who all would be there, what some of their expertise was, and that some of them I would consider somewhat fringe and maybe not the best speakers for a scientifically oriented symposium, but I have no influence. And it's up to MUFON to decide who they want to invite to their symposium and what platforms they want them to endorse. When I think we kind of finished with the symposium. Was there any other comments you wanted to make about the symposium and the people who would be there?
Well, just that if people want to find out more about it, they can go to mufonsymposium.com and all the information is there, or just go to our website, mufon.com, and click on the menu bar under where it says symposium, and they'll get all the information they'd like to know about it.
Okay. That sounds fair to me. We had talked briefly And when I say we had talked, that was you and I in email had talked briefly about the Mars program that the MUFON is involved with,
correct.
which does not mean a trip to Mars, but it means this.
It could be that fun. Yeah.
But
Mars,
it means...
Go ahead. I can explain what it is if you'd like, but go ahead.
Please, go ahead.
Yeah. So Mars, about 3 years ago, I had announced that we were going to try to build a global UFO database, which would have all the information in it on all the different cases and everything that we've had through time and have collected in our files. This is now morphed into a acronym called MARS, the MUFON Anomaly Research and Reporting System. And it's basically a large database that people will be able to access through their computer, online. And we'll have inside of that all of our CMS cases. We have all of our Pandora cases, which were all the cases from 1969 through about 1989 that were in 19 four-door files in Walt's old garage when he first started MUFON and spent 30 years doing this. We'll have the Len Stringfield files. We'll have all sorts of information that, frankly, people have never seen before when we finally get it built and can complete it. So we're really looking forward to having this repository built. And on top of that will be our case management system. As people report stuff, it'll go directly into this database.
I would assume that to access this system, you have to be a member of MUFON.
Well, I think we're going to provide information generally to the public, but to delve into some of the more detailed files that have been in our drawers for 30 years plus, I think you're going to need to be a member. That hasn't actually been worked out yet, Kevin. We're looking at how best do that. So we want to give people lots of information, but I think for some of the people who are hardcore researchers who are MUFON members, they may get a deeper dive than some other folks. Yes.
Is there going to be a re-examination of these cases? Because I have to assume that if you've got cases from 1969 or 1968 in the drawers, some of them would have been solved by our greater knowledge now or information that has been released by the government and so something like that. So some of the cases that may have originally been unidentified may in fact have been solved. Is there going to be any kind of review of the cases before they're stuck into the database?
Well, yes, every case is going to be reviewed, but more from a standpoint of redacting any witness information that might be in there. In the old days, we used to do it all by hand, and we would write out the forms with the addresses and phone numbers and names of the individuals. So that needs to be redacted. In the public view of this thing, we'll have all the documents scanned fully, but we don't want to give out people's personal information on the internet, obviously. So they'll be that way. Now, as far as going back and reinvestigating these cases, that's really up to individuals who'd like to do that. I mean, we don't have the staff to be able to go back through thousands of cases and try to reinvestigate them at the present time. But certainly, if you find something you think has information, you can pass it along to us, and we'll include that in the case file. Definitely.
So everything's going to be there. The names are being left out, and I get that. The Air Force, when they declassified Project Blue Book, did the same thing, but they didn't do a very good job of it. And what I think of is the Kenneth Arnold sighting. They even redacted his initials, KA, in the interviews conducted with him. But in grease pencil on one of the transcripts, they had written in big letters, Arnold case, which kind of gave the whole thing away. And in other cases, they had newspaper clippings, so they redacted the names of the people from their files, but the names were in the newspaper, so you could plug them back in. And I know Don Berliner did it, and I did it. We had gone through the Blue Book files before they had been redacted, and we had all the names.
Sure.
So we could put the names back into the cases, especially the unidentified cases, which were very important, so that others could talk about it. But I understand wanting to take people's names out of it because, and I've said this before in other places, Bill Brazel complained to me about the drunks calling him at 3 o'clock in the morning, asking about the Roswell case to see, well, did you really say that or not? And in today's environment, you've got people who just have no social graces and would call somebody at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, did you really say this? Did you really mean this? Or you are scum for saying this or something like that. So I get that. But you're also saying that for the hardcore researchers and the members of MUFON, the names would be available, but not necessarily online.
Oh, no. We wouldn't make the names available to anyone. I mean, that's only, our director of research might be able to see the names our director of investigation might be able to see the names, but it'd be very limited. We're not going to make the names available to the public or even to the membership, because a lot of these people, gave these reports with the idea that they wanted to remain anonymous. Now, it does bring up a good question, though, and that is, how long should things remain anonymous? I mean, in the government, what is it, 25 years? If something's classified, that it becomes declassified?
Not necessarily. It depends on the document. Some
Sure.
of them are classified in perpetuity. There is documents from World War I that are still classified.
Right, and in the case of UFO files, like you were mentioning some of the Blue Book files, I would imagine, since most of these cases happened in the 60s, 50s and 60s, that many of those people who reported are no longer alive. So even if you had their address, phone numbers, and everything else, it wouldn't lead you very far, honestly.
But it helps you verify that these people were real, that the case wasn't some kind of hoax being perpetrated on
Right.
the Air Force or whomever.
Exactly.
And it's very important to have the provenance for the information, and that too often is a stumbling block in UFO research. We don't, and this new MJ12 document is a perfect example. We don't know where it came from, actually. All we
Right.
know is it was given to Heather Wade, and she put it up on their website at midnight in the desert, and we know really nothing more other than what's in the document itself, which smacks of hoax. But we don't know anything else about it. So without that sort of specific information, sometimes it's very hard to make a good case for either this object being extraterrestrial or it being some kind of a hoax. And,
Right.
and the names are going to be kept. It's not like the Blue Book files where they've redacted them and you can't really get back to them unless you had earlier access to it.
Yeah, no, the names will be definitely in the files. And, we have had researchers in the past, perhaps even yourself, who've contacted us and asked for, on a specific case, can I get in touch with that witness? And what we generally do is we reach out to the witness and say, hey, we have a request here from, Kevin Randle, who is so-and-so, and he would like to look at your case. Would it be okay if we gave him your name and number, or could we give you his name and number, and you could contact him? And so we don't mind doing that. If it's a real researcher doing real good research, we don't have a problem. We just don't want the general public, like you say, calling people up at 3 a.m. and harassing them. That's not a good thing.
Yeah, and like I said, I understand that. So, but that system is to, I guess, digitize. The Mars system is to digitize everything and get it available on a much wider scale than it is now.
Absolutely. When I first joined MUFON, maybe 30 years ago, we got involved with it. MUFON was known as the black hole. You would send in your reports and never hear from them again. And part of that was just because the computers weren't in big use back then. We didn't have the personal computer. And a lot of the stuff were in 4-door filing cabinets, in a garage. And so to go through 19 4-door files and try to find that one document was not an easy thing to do. Well, now with technology and scanning all these documents with just a few keywords, you can turn up anything you want on any given subject. And you can double check other sightings that might have happened at the same time. It's going to be a real step forward, I think, for ufology and for research into this whole field. Honestly, I do believe that.
Well, I think we're just really basically out of time here.
Okay.
I'd like to thank you for taking time and the patience for us today on a different perspective. As I said, it's John Harzan is the Executive Director of MUFON. Take a look at MUFON.org for more information about the organization, and take a look at the symposium on their menu bar, and you can find out everything that you want about it. If you want more information about some of the things we talked about today and some of the other information available, look at www.kevinrandle.blogspot.com. And if you're looking for stuff on the MJ12 document, I've got a lot of that on my blog, of course, now. The book, Roswell in the 21st Century, I did a 50 or 60 page appendix of it with some 175 footnotes about my opinions on the validity of the MJ12 documents and the fact that Bill Moore was a recipient of the document through Jamie Chandra, but Bill Moore had announced at the MUFON Symposium in 1989 in Las Vegas that he had been a disinformation agent for the United States Air Force at one time, so I'm not sure how valid we can take anything he said about anything, given all of that sort of thing. We will be back next week with another show about UFOs, the paranormal, and the unusual, discussing these sorts of things so that we can kind of shine a light. I was going to say spread a light, shine a light on the topic, and maybe provide, in essence, a different perspective on all of this sort of thing, because the best way to understand what is going on is to have access to all the information that is available. So I would suggest that you tune in next week and listen to what we have to say about UFOs, and I will be back with my perspective, which is a different perspective, in 167 hours.